Alrighty, good morning, everybody. Hello, and welcome to the PreStream podcast for Monday. No, Sunday. Today is Sunday, not Monday. I'm getting ahead of myself. Sunday, January 9th, 2022. How is everyone today? Incidentally, my final streaming day of the week, even though originally it wasn't planned to be like that. This is definitely a shorter streaming week for me because my schedule is getting shifted around. By the way, I should have more information later on this week on if my schedule will stay this way this year or not. It's unclear at this point if Mondays will continue to be my day off every week or not. This week it just incidentally is, and I'll have more information on that soon, okay? So, what's going on, my friends? An interesting pre-stream podcast for you guys today. First of all, got some stuff to talk about in regards to the channel, how it's doing, some updates regarding things like our goals for the month, today's stream, which was an interactive choice for you guys, how polls work on YouTube, some YouTube side stuff to chat about for the first half of the podcast. And then the second half, what I'd like to do is talk about the big gaming news story that has been the talk of social media over the last 24 hours, which is Dying Light 2, and its announcement that it's going to be 500 hours long. Exactly. My reaction too. So we'll talk about that. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the PreStream podcast. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying the PreStream podcast over the last month and a half, 2 months that I've been doing it. I started it in November, if you guys remember. And I like the fact that every day now we talk on the PreStream about various topics. It's good because I have opportunity. For example, this morning, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on with DSPGaming and stuff, and I have the opportunity to do that, but I'm talking to you rather than talking at you. I feel like if I'm doing this, I'm talking at you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't even see me. It's a bunch of art. It's nice, by the way, and I was actually complimenting this artwork just a few minutes ago, stating that I'm really happy that so many people have now submitted fan art for the stream, because it makes the stream feel like such a cool variety, and it's this big group effort of people contributing, you know, to come together to make my content better. I really appreciate that. And, you know, I have all these art that's specific to games now that I'm playing and stuff. It's really well done, in my opinion. So thank you guys so much for all of your contributions. But now that I've actually started doing this official podcast every day, I like this better. I really do. And by the way, now that we're making a big effort for people to like videos on YouTube, leave comments on videos on YouTube, people have definitely done that a lot more often since I started doing this style of podcast, as opposed to when it was just the art, okay? So anyway, I really hope you guys have been enjoying the fact that we do this every morning, and we get fun topics we get to talk about and get big discussion before I get to the actual meat of the stream, which is the gameplay, obviously, right? So let's talk. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. First of all, today, the first gameplay stream was determined by you, the viewers, all right? I wanted to do it interactive, and quite frankly, I didn't care what I played today. The two major playthroughs that I'm continuously doing right now, on the one hand, we got Resident Evil 4, only my second run ever in the game, and on the other hand, we've got Skyrim Anniversary Edition, only my second run ever in the game. Kind of weird how I'm doing that, right? And it doesn't matter what order I play them. I played both of them already this week as major streams. So we had a poll overnight on the main channel page of DSPGaming to determine what would be the game that I play as the major stream today. And you guys voted in droves. Over 1,600 people voted overnight. And by about 2% margin, Skyrim won the poll. Now, if you do the math, well, what's 1% of 1,600 people? 16 people. Yeah. What's 2%? About 32. So about 32 people determined what game we're playing today. That's how crazy powerful you are here on DSP Gaming. Your votes count for a huge amount. Seriously. Now, here's the good news. For those of you who really wanted to see Resident Evil 4 today, it's actually not that big of a deal. Because today it's Skyrim. I'm off tomorrow. When I return on Tuesday, it's Resident Evil 4. It's not like you have to wait an incredibly long time for Resident Evil 4 to continue or anything like that. I knew it really wasn't a giant issue. Okay? It wasn't. It was just, okay, let's see what happens with this poll, and whatever happens, happens. It's not a big deal. I didn't really care what order that I played them. Alright? Now, it's funny, because as I'm starting my stream today, I announce publicly on Twitter Skyrim is won. All right. I set up the whole stream. It says, you voted for Skyrim. We're playing Skyrim. I set up the whole stream, set it up, right? Start broadcasting. What happens? Well, two things happen. Number one, you can't close a poll on YouTube. What? Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, you can't close a poll on YouTube. I know that sounds stupid, because it is. It's things I've been telling you guys about since I became a full-time streamer on YouTube back in May of 2021, that some of the boneheaded omissions here on YouTube are just baffling and jaw-dropping. So you can make a poll for which all of your subscribers and followers can vote on to determine critical things about your content creation and your channel, but you can't choose when the poll closes and you can't end it ever. What? Like, isn't that a no-brainer? You could do that on Twitter. You could do that anywhere else on the internet. You could make a poll and close it at a certain time. You can't do that on fucking YouTube. I know, it sounds really stupid. But I talk about this all the time, that YouTube has great ideas, and then they launch the ideas, and then they never, like, complete them, right? So, oh, this is great. We definitely should have polls so that content creators can get the opinions of their public. And their followers and their viewers. Oh, by the way, there's no way to actually ever end the poll. It just goes on forever, right? So what happened? When I announced, oh, we're doing Skyrim today, what happens? All the contrarians out there, all the people who, oh, we'll really stick it to Phil. Yeah, let's do it, guys. They rush to the channel, and they vote for Resident Evil 4. So now the poll flipped, and it looks like Resident Evil 4 won. In reality, it did not. In reality, Skyrim won by about 2%. But these are people who literally just sit there and wait to try to make me look like I'm stupid or something, okay? Much like last night, okay? Last night, I went ahead and posted up on Twitter. And I said, hey, guess what? We're doing good on DSPGaming. Here's the current stats of the channel. And I actually posted up the actual total number of subscribers that we had on the channel, which I believe at the time, I believe last night, it was like 195,701 or something like that. And I was like, just so you guys know, yeah, this is great. There's been consistent growth. Thank you guys for anyone who subscribed, you know, the end of last year or over the last year as I became a full-time content creator on YouTube again, or thanks to anyone who maybe just subscribed here in 2022. This is awesome. As you guys know, my goal is to try to hit 200,000 subscribers by my birthday, which is the first week of April. So we've still got 3 months to go, and that's a lot of time, especially with the new games coming out next month. That'll probably bring a lot of people to the channel. So anyway, that being said, I post this up, and what happens? I'm not even exaggerating. Within 20 minutes of me posting that up, purposely, like 10 people unsubscribed to the channel. Again, these are the contrarians. They're like, oh, well, Phil's celebrating that you know, he got some new people on the channel. Oh, let me go ahead and unsubscribe to make him look stupid. And this happens all the time. People are fucking just dumb like this, okay? They think that it's some kind of funny thing. By the way, what I'm trying to do here is figure out how to get this white balance to stop with this bullshit. Because I've had enough. Here it is. Fuck the auto white balance. I unclicked it. I've had enough of this camera going crazy. It never used to be a big problem. And now it is. Now the camera just like goes nuts. And I don't know why. So I'm looking at it right now. Color intensity, brightness. Alright, everything else is fine. Alright, save. So now that white balance shouldn't fuck around anymore. I had enough of it. I'm sitting here on PreStream and I'm like, why do I keep going pink and white, then pink, then white? This camera never used to do that, and now it does it all the time. So I said, fuck that, and I just unclicked auto white balance. So now we're stuck with the current color scheme. Hope you guys like it. I hope you like me looking nice and pale. I had enough of that bullshit. Okay. Anyway, so, that being said, the contrarians are out and about today. It is what it is. Oh, let's make Phil look stupid. Whatever. We're playing Skyrim. We're having fun. Which, by the way, I'm very happy. Skyrim's been great recently. There's been a lot of good stuff. in Skyrim, open world exploration. Every time I go to look for one mission, I end up doing 27 others on the way. Very much so, exactly as you would expect from Skyrim. I'm totally okay with that. So, yeah, more Skyrim today. In fact, we were heading towards Falkreath, but on the way, we ran into a million things, and now I'm standing, like, right next to a temple, so we're going to do the temple first, and then go from there and see where the game takes us currently now. So just think about, in the, like, 12 hours I've played Skyrim so far, how different it already is. I started barehanded, then I went to conjuration, summoning of dual swords. Now I'm doing a bow and summoning companions like the Atronach and the zombie and stuff, right? So very different. And it just keeps changing. And it's fine, because every time I change it up, I end up using a new kind of style, and I gain more experience and more levels, which is critical for Skyrim. If you want to do well, you got to be hitting levels, like, constantly. So, very good. I'm having tons of fun. You guys have been helping me quite a lot with the Skyrim playthrough so far. And let me tell you, I definitely appreciate that. Being that I haven't played the game in 10 years since it came out. Having people say, hey, this is good, here's how you do this, here's some advice on this. Totally appreciate it, and it helps with the interactivity of the streams as well as the quality of the playthrough, in my opinion. Okay? So thank you, and let's keep that going today. Let's have a nice, chill atmosphere, interactions, fun discussions, and just in general, just looking forward to a lot more Skyrim coming up. And today should be a great stream, okay? Which leads me to a few more things that I'd like to talk about in regards to the streams before we get to the full schedule for the week and all of that. First of all, guys, quick reminder. If you're here on my live stream right now, you're having a good time, please remember to like it. Give it a click, a like, a thumb up, because that helps the stream. It actually allows this stream to get more visibility on YouTube in the search. When people are looking for, oh, I want to look for an open world stream. Oh, Darkside Phil or DSPGaming is playing Skyrim. Cool, let me go check it out. That happens when you like content on YouTube. So, again, if you're having a good time, please consider liking this stream to give it more visibility on YouTube. That will, if we get used to doing this, as I practice every time that I'm putting out content, what will happen is people get used to it. It's a habit now. It's a positive thing that happens every single time I put content. And all the content will be more prominently featured on YouTube, and this channel will be able to grow more, okay? If you're watching this on demand on YouTube, thank you. I'm sorry you can't be here live, but I'm very happy that people do watch stuff after the fact. You can also like the video and leave a comment. Comments are huge for engagement on YouTube. Now that comments are back on my videos, it's going to help the channel again, okay? Awesome. Very nice. Now, a few things that I'd like to talk about. I'd like to direct everyone's attention down here. No, not at my knee. Down here at the members goal. Right there. You see it? Currently, we are at 326 members out of our goal of 350 for the month of January. And we're about a little over a week into the month of January. So around a third into the month. The good news is we have gotten a good amount of members. I'd say probably between 10 to 15 members growth since the beginning of the month. FYI, the most we ever had was 334. So we are actually very close to the record of the amount of members that I've had on this channel. If we just get a few people today to become members, that will grow, and we'll be able to hit a new record, okay? Now, a few things. Number one, emotes. I told you guys over the past couple of days on the PreStream podcast I was going to adjust the emotes. I have. You may have noticed this morning, today's Santa is gone. Bye-bye, Chris Kringle. See you later, Saint Nick. We'll be back next year probably. But for now, Chris Kringle has been replaced. Santa got replaced? Oh, no. Normally I'd say I'm a Grinch, but Christmas is long over. It's time for the facepalm. That's right. Facepalm emote has now been added to the channel. Everyone is using it right now. Very nice. You guys have noticed that it's been added. Something that has been missing from the channel for a very, very long time, and now has been added. So, awesome. Please enjoy the facepalm emote. Now, the way that emotes work on YouTube, every 50 members that are gained, we unlock a new emote slot. Now, you guys seemed to be torn between the facepalm and why am I toxic? So, what I can tell you firmly is, when we hit 350 members, and I wholeheartedly believe we are going to hit 350 members sooner rather than later, okay? Why am I toxic will be the next emote. that will be unlocked for the channel. Okay? So just so you know, this is what's coming. Now it gives us a goal to work towards. If we hit that amount of members, great, new emote, and we all get to use it. Okay? Now, what are the benefits of being a member? Highlighted name in stream chat, access to all of the emotes, including the new facepalm emote, cool chat crown badge to show how long you've been a supporter, which, by the way, many people now are hitting their 6-month anniversaries of support and getting that cool ruby and emerald encrusted crown, chat crown, which is really nice. Keep in mind, the 1-year anniversary will be May, so some people will actually start to earn some of the regal crowns starting in May, okay? Alrighty then. Now, what else? You also get access to immunity from slow mode. And what that means is right now on the chat, there is a slow mode in place that's a 10-second slow mode. What does that mean? It means you can only chat every 10 seconds. Why do we do that? Because if we didn't do that, you'd have assholes coming in here spamming, going bip, 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 every 2 seconds with bullshit, trying to troll. So definitely, you know, the anti-spam protections are needed. But if you're a member, you don't have to worry about that, okay? Also, members get some exclusive benefits, including getting incredibly highlighted priority for my bi-monthly show, Ask the King. Every 2 months or so, I do a Q&A show where I take questions off my forums from DSPGaming.com and I answer them live on the show. But members get to post up their questions on a community post on my channel page, and they get incredibly increased chance to get their questions answered on the show. Okay? In addition to that, I am planning in the future to do members only gameplay and streams. For example, yes, people have been asking for Halo Infinite members only for a long time, and I'm thinking second half of this month we'll finally be able to make that happen. Probably do a couple streams like that, members only streams of Halo, and see if we can get some fire teams going. More info on that as we get into the second half of the month, okay? So, good stuff. Many benefits to being a channel member. Membership is a great way to do ongoing support of the channel that I can kind of depend on as long-term support. Please consider becoming a member if you are not. There's many, many benefits. And by the way, I will also say this. If you're someone who is not here on the live streams, okay, you just can't attend them, still benefit to being a member. Did you know if you become a channel member, you still get a highlighted name, a chat crown badge, access to my emotes and all of that stuff for the comments of the videos? Did you know that? A lot of people don't. A lot of people aren't even aware that the comments of the videos have the same features as the stream chat, because guess what? They're the same exact thing. Stream chat on YouTube is a running comment section. I'm not kidding. It's the same as the comment section on any video. It's just that it's live, okay? So, please consider becoming a member. Even if you're not here on the live streams, it benefits you to get tons of features, and it helps me out, and it keeps the channel healthy, okay? DC is here this morning. Listen to this. He's got an emote hype haiku. Why am I toxic? A classic DSP quote. Can't wait for emote. Wow, awesome. All right, if you guys give me a minute. As you can tell, my post-nasal drip's bothering me today, and I want to blow my nose before I get into the next segment of the PreStream podcast, because it's actually going to be an interesting and lengthy segment. But my nose is bothering me, so give me a second to blow it, and then we'll continue. What a pain in my butt. Stupid drip. Stupid bullshit. Ah. Oh. Ah. Oh. Oh. Yuck. There we go. Much better. See? Much better. All those other content creators, they're not giving you the real experience, man. They're editing out that shit. When they fart and piss and belch and vomit and blow their nose and pick their ears and eat their earwax, they edit all that out. Me, you get the real deal. Okay, let's continue. Oh my God. Let's continue. So by the way, guys, I was thinking about this the other day. Actually, I was thinking about this last night. I was thinking back on my history as a content creator, and I was like, are you aware that DSPGaming was created in 2010. We're reaching its 12th anniversary. Okay? Wow. 12 years of DSP Gaming, right? Are you aware that I actually started making content regularly for the internet in the fall of 2008? So that would mean I'm actually approaching my 14th anniversary as a ongoing content creator on YouTube. 14 years, okay? But are you aware that actually my original Dark Side Phil channel on YouTube started posting content, not a lot, but I did start posting content originally way back when in 2007. So technically, this year, 2022, is my 15th anniversary as a person, you know, making content for the internet. Now, that first year isn't really counting, I feel, and here's why. The first year content that I made back in 2007 was only Street Fighter related. At that point, I was still considering myself a competitive Street Fighter player. And therefore, all you saw me post up was footage of me going to a particular Street Fighter tournament in Chicago called the Midwest Championships. And I filmed various events and things that were happening at it. It kind of let me see that, oh, if I post these kind of random videos up on YouTube, maybe they'll get some attention, right? So, that's kind of neat. It's kind of neat that I've been around for so long. But what's crazy now is, you know, I think back to stuff that I've done. And it was funny because for years people would say, hey, Phil, will you play Resident Evil 4 again? I'm like, nah, I don't want to play Resident Evil 4. I just played that game. 8 years ago. Whoa. Seriously. And it's funny because yesterday someone said something. They said, Phil, I'd really like to see you play some of the games that you've asked that you said you wanted to play over the years. For example, recently you said that you wanted to play Chrono Trigger again. And I feel like Chrono Trigger is one of the best RPGs of all time. I'd love to see you play it again. And I'm thinking in my head, yeah, but I just played it. And I was like, wait a minute, I just played it. In 2013. 9 years ago. It's blowing my mind. It really is. Like, personally, I don't feel like my life has lasted that long in regards to being a content creator. You know what I'm saying? Like, what it is, here's the truth. The first few years that I was a content creator was an insane, crazy whirlwind. When I started making content for YouTube, and it was that weird time when I was still working my office job, but I was doing YouTube stuff when I came home, it was a time of, like, excitement, because it was a new thing on the internet to be, like, a content creator on YouTube. It wasn't a popular thing or anything. And I know that I had an audience who cared about the videos I was putting out, even though I was just a normal guy with an office job, was kind of this, like, exciting thing. And quite honestly, like, those days flew by. Like, I remember buying games, coming home, playing games after work and everything for, like, about a year and a half. If you remember, like I said, I started making content fall of 2008, and I got laid off from my job in the fall of 2010. So about 2 years there, where I was making content part-time, but I was working this office job full-time. And those years absolutely flew by. But then, when I lost my office job, right, and then I started doing YouTube full-time, those first full years, so 2011, 12, 13, essentially, those first 3 full years that I was a full-time video maker on YouTube. They didn't call it content creator back then, by the way. They just called it, like, YouTuber, okay? Oh my God. You have no concept. Like, every day rolled into the next day. It was hard to keep track of what day anything was. In fact, really, the only way that I could figure out what day anything was is the day John Rambo showed up and the day that I went to dinner with my parents. That was it. Outside of that, the whole week would blend together because I'm just constantly playing games, pumping out playthroughs, putting out content, checking comments, you know, doing this, doing that. It was just insane. It was out of control. And time flew. I mean, think about the whirlwind time that I had back then. Within those first few years, I was going to conventions constantly, meeting people, signing autographs like a big celebrity, right? I went to E3. I went to WrestleMania. I did all this crazy stuff within like that that 3-year period. And then, by the way, I will say this, it definitely was a fun time. It was a crazy and fun, chaotic time for me. At the very same time, I really feel like those years went like this. And those were entire, 5-6 years of my life, just zoop, gone. I really feel like things didn't start to slow down a bit and feel more normal until kind of I moved out here. And even then, I remember like the first 1 to 2 years that I was here in Washington, 2014, 2015, were also kind of very chaotic. Sadly, not for good reasons. You know, when I moved out here, things were good in regards to I liked where I lived, I liked my house, but that's the beginning of where a lot of the stress started, bad stress in my life. Particularly those years, and I don't really know if it was the move that really triggered it, but the 2014, 2015, I really feel were the years when the big hate against me happened on the internet. And for some reason, I became like the villain of content creation on YouTube. Like people were, oh, how dare Phil be successful and still have a viewer base and still make a living? Look, he moved out to a nice house in Washington. He doesn't deserve any of that success. We should really do everything we can to like destroy him in his life. Which I wish I was joking about, except if you look at the track history of what happened, you know, me being DDoSed or DDoSed, whatever you want to say, I don't even know, doxed, swatted, having my YouTube channel set up as a booby trap, basically with fan art, and then hit false DMCA strikes against it. Like within a year and a half, I had such an insane amount of toxic, bad things happen to me, you know, that time really felt so weird and different, because before I really feel like before I moved across the country, most people still liked me and saw me in a positive light. A lot of people saw me as the ultimate underdog, meaning I didn't have any backing from anyone. You know, Machinima didn't promote me, even though I was a longtime partner with them. You didn't see me getting any kind of prominence with them. There was no cross-promotion with other content creators. No one wanted to do collabs with me or anything. It was more kind of like I was just me doing my own thing, and a lot of people enjoyed that content. And then, you know, it just kind of flipped 2014, 2015. Again, I think really what made that happen was people saw me move across the country and get this nicer house from where I used to live and stuff like that. Maybe what it is, you know, when I lived in Connecticut, people saw that I lived in this small, cramped condo and that I was basically, you know, pumping out content at an insane rate, right? And they saw me as kind of the equivalent of them, right? Phil doesn't have a big place. Phil doesn't have a lot of money. But here he is as a content creator. He's enjoying games just like us. He doesn't think he's better than us or anything. He lines up, buys his games just like everybody else. Doesn't get free copies, advanced copies. Doesn't get his butt kissed by game companies or anything like that. He just basically is equivalent to us. Yet he's a popular content creator on YouTube. That's neat. When I watch a Dark Side Phil playthrough, I feel like I'm sitting next to a buddy who's playing a game and doing live commentary. And that's, you know what I mean? And I think maybe when I moved across the country, what it is that people felt like I kind of abandoned that. Oh, now Phil has a bigger, nicer house. Oh, you know, so now he is better than us, right? Oh, yeah, because he's got this and he's got this. And just the mentality of a lot of people flipped. There were people who were fans of mine who all of a sudden hated me out of nowhere. And I'm like, but why? Like, what happened? What caused that? You know what I mean? I honestly don't know the answer to that, okay? But anyway, I would say the beginning of what I would consider kind of my modern era of content creation, as well as the modern era of my life, started in 2017, because 2017 is really when I kind of hit the reset button. If you remember, a lot of things changed personally in my life behind the scenes, as well as publicly with my channel. I became a full-time streamer rather than a on-demand video content creator, right? And because of that, I had to change up the style that I made content. And quite frankly, the videos and streams were very different. They became social. They became a lot more positive. Because previously it was like, play a game, hate on it, crap on it, right? Now it's kind of like play a game and enjoy it and have a good time with the audience and have a meaningful conversation and have fun. And over the years, as you know, it's become more about that interactive experience. It's become more about having a fun conversation and you guys contributing. Like, we're going to play Skyrim today. You guys are going to help me out with stuff. And that makes the content feel better. It does. It makes it feel like it's more of a positive experience. That's a group deal rather than just Phil just plays games by himself and yells at them. It's we all are kind of enjoying this game together and having a good time. And I like that a lot more. I really do. I like that a lot more than what I used to do. And of course, 2017 is the year that I met my wife, and it changed my life forever. Like, the last 5 years of my life have absolutely positively been the best years of my life, even with all the stress and the shit that I've gone through, because we can go through all the last 5 years and all the crap that's happened. But in reality, like I tell you guys, every day when I wake up, that's the best day of my life. I feel like this next day is awesome. I have a beautiful wife who I love so much. She loves me, and a family with Jasper, and you know, the things we get to do together, even though I definitely want more time with them and more family time. But I absolutely love my life today compared to how it used to be. Seriously. All those years back then, you'd be like, it's a whirlwind of crap. It was me. And by the way, I've told you guys about my past, how I used to drink way too much. I would be drinking constantly, all the time, because I was so stressed out. I was, honestly, when I started with this whole thing, I was depressed many years ago, a decade ago. I didn't like my life or anything, and basically, liquor was the way to kind of get through that. It was, I hate my life, I hate who I am, so let me just drink it all away and just keep pumping out fucking YouTube videos. I don't have to do that shit anymore, Like, I'm happy with who I am and where I am and everything, and things are a lot better for me now. I'm going to be 40 years old in 3 months. Yeah, I'm going to be 40 years freaking old. And in a lot of ways, people still associate, Dark Side Phil or DSPGaming with that 27-year-old guy, who started many, many, many years ago as a content creator, when in reality, I'm not anymore. I'm a very different person, right? But anyway, the thing is, like, it kind of made me, I was thinking about this, and I was like, wow. Because I'm doing these playthroughs now. Oh, Skyrim. It's only the second time I'm playing Skyrim. I played it 10 years ago. 10 years ago? Yeah. Yeah. Holy shit. 10 freaking years ago was when I played Skyrim for the very first time. It, like, blows my mind to think about that. That I've been doing this now almost 15 years. We're approaching, this is year 14 I'm starting right now as an ongoing content creator, right? Pretty nuts. And it's funny, Eternal says, does the big 40 scare you? You want to know the truth? No, and here's why. A lot of people have a midlife crisis. A lot of people say, man, they look at their lives when they hit 40 and they're like, man, I don't like my life because my family is too stressful, or my job I hate, or this or that. It's literally the opposite for me. Now when I'm turning 40, my personal life is better than it's ever been in my life, and I love my job. So why on the holy hell would I have a midlife crisis? I'm enjoying my middle life more than my younger life. That's very true. I'm enjoying life now way more than back when I was just a YouTuber back in the day. I'm enjoying my life now more than before when I was kind of a pro Street Fighter player. This is the life right now for me, So there you go. Anyway, that was just neither here nor there. But I just want to talk a little bit about that because it kind of blew my mind that I'm hitting all these milestones and anniversaries. My 14th year as a content creator. Holy shit, I remember, it's like yesterday when we made that t-shirt that said 10 years of Dark Side Phil. It's 4 years later. What happened? Seriously, time flies, man. Scarface, no, I didn't see anything about a Garfield JRPG. You can stop asking now and spamming the chat. Okay, so now let's get on to the meat of what I wanted to talk about on today's PreStream podcast, okay? I want to talk about an announcement that went out on Twitter yesterday that completely divided the gaming community, and I don't think had the actual intended response that the game developer wanted, okay? So as you guys know, in February of this year, less than a month, like 3 weeks, we're going to go into gaming overdrive. We're going to go into absolute insanity. We're going to have so many new releases in a short time frame. I don't even know how you could afford all of them and or play all of them. It used to be called Broketober. October used to be the month where there were so many games coming out, you would absolutely go broke if you tried to buy them all and play them all. So what do we call it now? Brokuary? Like, Febrokenary? I don't know. There's no term for it because this usually doesn't happen. But man, it's crazy that this is happening. Because all these games, admittedly, we know are probably going to end up cannibalizing each other. And what I mean by that is when you have that many high-profile games releasing in a short time frame, people aren't going to be able to play and buy them all. They're going to have to pick and choose the individual ones that they want, which sadly means that overall sales numbers will be hindered. Although, admittedly, out of all the games coming out in February, there are two big ones. Horizon Forbidden West, which is going to be every mainstream gamer is going to buy it for a Sony console, and Elden Ring, where every try-hard gamer is going to buy it for whatever console, okay? And you probably will have some more casualized gamers who try to play Elden Ring hoping it plays more like Dark Souls 3, which is way more accessible than a game like, say, Sekiro, which is completely inaccessible and everyone complained about, okay? But the reason I'm bringing this up, okay, is because yesterday there was a social media post by the makers of Dying Light 2, okay? Their official Twitter account posted up a picture. And this picture said, Dying Light 2 will take over 500 hours to fully complete. What? Wait, no, hold on. 500 hours to complete. What the huh? 500 hours. That's like 20 plus full days. Like, that's like the only games out there that I can think of that have 500 hours of unique content would be MMOs. Like full-fledged MMOs. I'm not talking like a mini MMO for a console. I'm talking, you know, established MMOs where you're playing online, grinding in dungeons, raids with a group of other people. And yes, even those games, you might say it's unique content, but man, it could get repetitive and grindy, right? Is it all meaningful content? Or is it because you're playing those games with friends online in a cooperative setting that it has more of an enjoyable atmosphere as opposed to a single player game that you're playing for 500 hours? Okay? Now, immediately, you can start to make these assessments about the statement. You could start to make comparisons. First of all, the initial reaction you hear is, oh my God, 500 hours. That's just so much content, right? And people have different reactions to that. Some people are like, wow, 500 hours, but this game's still $60, right? Or is it 70? I don't even know how much it's going to sell for, honestly. These days, I'm so confused about game pricing, I couldn't even answer that question. But it's kind of like, so Dying Light 2 is going to have so much content. Will it literally be the most value you've ever gotten out of a retail game? Right? You're going to buy this game for a retail price, and you're going to get 500 hours of content out of it. Right? So, damn. Some people are blown away by that and like, wow, now I'm actually very excited about the game. On the flip side of that, when some people hear 500 hours of content, they become incredibly skeptical, and they say a few things such as, number one, 500 hours of content, right? Okay, but out of the 500 hours of content, how much will be meaningful story? How much will be optional side content that doesn't add to the story but maybe is meaningful and is fun to do? Think of like the side quest lines of, say, a Fallout game or a Witcher game, okay? How much of this is going to be what's considered incredibly grindy, repetitive, busy work content just for the sake of saying that content is in there or for the sake of padding the game? For example, Radiant quests. We have to go out and kill a certain amount of enemies just for an arbitrary reward of maybe currency or experience points. Or one thing that I absolutely fucking hate when they do in modern games is, oh, so you reached this certain part in the story. Would you like to continue with the story? Well, Too bad, because we decided you have to complete 10 to 15 hours of boring, repetitive, grindy bullshit in order to hit a milestone of accomplishment or progress, so now you can unlock the next actual narrative-based mission in the game. The perfect example of a game, I was thinking about this overnight, the perfect example of a game that did this completely wrong and fell on its own face because of it is Mafia 3. Mafia 1 and 2 were incredibly streamlined games where every moment you played them, it was meaningful content, story development, and admittedly, Mafia 1 and 2 were short games, but they were like, wow, bang for your buck, because every hour you were playing it, you were having tons of fun with story advancement and gameplay elements that mattered. And then with Mafia 3, they basically tried to turn it into, like, GTA Vice City, where, when you hit a certain part of the game, now you have to grind doing combat against enemies and gang territories around the city to take over this part of the city or run this business. And you have to do all this shit before you can qualify for the next part of the game. And because of that, Mafia 3 went from arguably what would have been an awesome 10 to 15 hour narrative to a 40-hour long, insanely padded, boring, grindy shit game. They ruined their own game for the sake of saying, look, we have more quantity, instead of saying, hey, every moment you're getting is quality, you see? So when you hear an announcement like this on social media saying, wow, Dying Light 2 will be over 500 hours to complete, everyone's like, huh? Like, I don't know if this is how they intended it to be received, but man, a lot of people were kind of shocked. A lot of people were actually like, you know what? If that's the case, I'm not getting the game. Because it sounds to me like it's another Assassin's Creed Valhalla, right? Where you like the story, you want to continue, but the game beats around the bush so much to make you actually get to the meaningful story elements. It takes too long, and let's be honest, we're all busy people. We all have lives, right? We don't just sit here playing games all day, right? Wait. Okay, so maybe in my case that's the case, but not everyone's like me. Not everyone does this for a living, right? So if you have a job, if you go to school, if you have a family, if you have other shit to do, you can't just sit here and play the same fucking game endlessly to beat it, right? At some point, you want to have like a payout. You want to have a reward for the time invested, right? And you want to see the ending within a reasonable amount of time. How many people want to be constantly playing the same fucking game day after day after day after day after day? I played this game for 3 weeks straight, and I just finished the first 10th. You know, like, what on earth? Some people, believe it or not, some people are of the mentality that I just want every moment I'm playing a game to be a meaningful moment. I don't care how long the game is, as long as it's something memorable that I will say, wow, that was a cool game that it'll resonate with me. It'll be something that I'll absolutely remember. And, you know, for me, take a look at, I just did my year-end series, right? What games really stuck with me in 2021? Was it necessarily the games with the most content? No. Was it even the games that I spent the most time in? No. My game of the year was Resident Evil 8, arguably one of the shorter major playthroughs that I did in 2021. But it was the best game of the year for me, because every moment I played it, I was entertained, I was scared, I was shocked, I was having a good time, you know, cutting through the hordes of mutated freaks and creatures. There was uniqueness to the game. All these different areas felt like different kinds of horror. It did a really good job of keeping it fresh and keeping it feeling interesting and not feeling repetitive, grindy, and boring. Not one moment when I was playing Resident Evil 8 was I like, man, come on, just move on to the next thing. I've had enough of this. I never really felt that way. The pacing was great. And maybe, you know, that's the word I'm looking for here. Pacing. Because when you look at a game that's 500 hours long, how can you, even in any kind of rational thought, argue to me that the pacing of that game is going to be good? You really think that every hour of a 500-hour experience is going to be a meaningful hour? I have a really hard time believing that, okay? So after they announced this on social media, right, it backfired. In fact, within just a few hours of them posting this up, it was the hot topic on social media, but not for the right reasons. People were actually like, man, what could they possibly do for 500 hours? I don't know about this. This feels like now when you're looking at the month of February, you're like, okay, what are the games coming out in February? Sifu. That looks completely unique and interesting and something different. And by the way, it comes out before everything else. So I think Sifu might pretty much do really well, okay? Then you got Dying Light 2 coming out. But then right after Dying Light 2, you got Horizon Forbidden West, which we all know is going to be epic, amazing graphics, great first-party style development and gameplay, the continuation of a plot line from a game, you know, a few years ago that was one of the best games of that year and blew everyone away, right? So you know that game's going to be, like, hitting it on all cylinders. You got a new fighting game, King of Fighters 15. Okay, arguably that probably won't cut into anything. It's unique enough. But then you got Elden Ring near the end of the month, right? And everyone knows once Elden Ring comes out, that's all anyone's going to be talking about. It's going to be all over the internet. So when you're telling me there's a 500-hour game releasing amongst all of that other stuff, you kind of start scratching your head and be like, wait a minute, maybe this is actually a bad idea. Maybe if that is the case and that's the game, maybe they should release this game in like the summer when there's nothing really going on in regards to, you know, everything else in the gaming landscape. If it's going to take you 500 hours to fully see this game, maybe what you want to do is you want to release it when there's really nothing else that's going to be important for you to be playing, and if you miss out on it, it's not a big deal. Well, I'll be honest, if you miss out on all the other games in February because you want to do a 500-hour playthrough of Dying Light 2, you're probably missing out on some pretty significant gaming things that are happening, and if you think you're in line with gaming culture, do you really want to skip Elden Ring and Horizon for the sake of doing a 500-hour run in Dying Light 2? Or what's really going to happen is people are going to skip Dying Light 2, or they're going to buy it, play it for a few days, and then completely drop it when the other games come out. You see? Now, what ended up happening was there was such a backlash on social media about this that within like 3 to 4 hours of them putting up their original post, the social media team for Dying Light 2 realized they fucked up. And what they did is they quoted their own tweet and did an update tweet. Okay? Hilarious. So their update tweet said the following. You ready? Oh, just so you know, when we said that Dying Light 2 is 500 hours, what we actually meant to say was that if you do want to beat the entirety of the story and the meaningful content of the game, it's under 100 hours. But if you're a completionist who wants to do maybe like multiple runs through the game to see alternate endings, and if you do want to complete every single piece of side content that there is in the game, and you want to do it over and over, then it will be 500 hours, okay? So here's the truth. They fucking lied. Their first post was bullshit. Their first post was them boasting about the absolute rarest scenario where someone likes Dying Light 2 so much they're going to replay the game immediately after the first playthrough again and again and again to see every scenario and every alternate ending. Who the fuck does that, right? If you're going to play a 100-hour game, as soon as you beat it, do you immediately jump back in to continue your playthrough and consider that part of the same playthrough and say it's 500 hours? Of course not. What it is they wanted to boast and basically kiss their own butt and do marketing. But the marketing was terrible. You can't say something like that in the modern day and expect that people are going to just understand what you mean. So they mismarketed their game and said that it was way longer than it really is. And everyone misinterpreted that as saying, oh, that's one run is 500 hours. That's crazy. So the truth of the matter is Dying Light 2 is under 100 hours. I would think if it's anything like other open world games that we've played, right? I would probably say, this is me guessing, the main story will probably take 20 to 30 hours to complete with padding. And what I mean by that is I almost guarantee you this game will have required parts just like Mafia 3, where you're forced to do busy work bullshit. Go kill this number of enemies, collect this random item that's a random drop from killing enemies in this area, take over this nest or base of enemies or blah, blah, blah. And then finally, when you complete a certain amount of obligatory side content, oh, the next story mission finally unlocked, and now you can get to the next part of the story. So I would bet if you try to just turbo through the story, you could probably beat it in like 20 to 30 hours. But then, if you want to do all the meaningful side content, of which maybe there are some interesting side quest lines that really aren't needed for the story, but maybe they'll give you some extra experience points, some extra abilities. If you remember the original Dying Light, there was a unique skills tree One was like more melee combat and tankish controls and damage. One was like parkour and eventually getting like a zip line where you can like Spider-Man zip through the city. And then there was a whole third, there was 3 different like paths you could take playing the game, which led to replayability. Because if you play it one way, okay, great, but what if I played it this other way? Would the game feel different? And I almost feel like that's exactly what they're going to go for. Okay? Is you're going to play it once. Oh, I want to be the tank, the physical guy that just bullies through all the zombies. Cool. That's like 40, 50 hours. You did it. Oh, but now I want to go through, I want to be Spider-Man. Okay, that's another 40, 50 hours. Okay, but now I want to do stealth and, okay, you see? And then because you're doing that, you're unlocking alternate endings. All of a sudden, you add up all your gameplay. You played the game 4 or 5 times. Now you've played 500 hours. So, man, I don't think, in recent memory anyway, I don't think I've seen marketing backlash this badly in such a short period of time. Like, for example, probably like one of the other times that's synonymous in my time as a content creator where marketing backfired was the Xbox One launch. Everyone remembers Don Matrick, the incredibly cocky asshole who was the head of Xbox at the time, went to E3 and literally told everyone, well, if you don't have an always online internet connection that works, just play the Xbox 360. The Xbox One isn't for you. No, you can't trade games with your friends. No, you can't trade games in because everything's digital. If you don't like it, tough shit. And overnight, the opinion about the Xbox One completely flipped. Just because of this guy's attitude and because of the things that he announced that was completely obstinate and not willing to listen to customer feedback, overnight, the opinion was just, this console sucks. And literally, the Xbox One did not recover, okay, for like a year. Until finally they decided we're not going to bundle the Kinect with the Xbox One anymore. We're going to take back all the things we said. Then it ended up being good, right? But man, I've never, like, you want to talk about bad marketing. Just think of everything that was done wrong here. Number one, the tweet is a lie. The game is not 500 hours long. This is like saying, seriously, this would be like if From Software came out today and posted up on their Twitter and said, well, Elden Ring is 1,000 hours long. Huh? Well, in reality, Elden Ring's 20 hours long, but you can play the game so many different ways. There's so many custom builds you can do. There's so many different challenge runs you can do and different orders that you can play the game that you could literally get 1,000 hours of content out of the game. And take a look at some content creators who literally only play like FromSoft style games. They could get like 1,000 hours of gameplay out of the game. They literally could. They could do the Deprived run, the Sword run, the Club run, the Magic run, the Hybrid Magic run. They just keep replaying the game over and over to show off different things, right? It would be the same thing. Like, that's what they did. This social media team is a bunch of assholes. They misrepresented their game, which then caused a big uproar on the internet. And here's the real problem with that. Okay? Here's the real problem with that. First impressions are everything. That's absolutely positively true. Personally, I know that because sadly, there's a lot of people who their first impression of me is some bullshit some asshole said about me and not actually watching me and my real content. So when you hear someone's a jerk or an asshole or a scammer or this or that, you hear something, an insult, something slanderous or negative about someone, and that's the first thing you've ever heard about them, it's hard to then disassociate that negative association in your head with that person if you actually want to give them a fair shot. It's true, because the first impression is everything. When the first time you were majorly hearing about Xbox One, you heard it comes with the Kinect, you can't trade or sell games with your friends or to stores, you need an online-only connection. When you hear all these bad things, it's very, very hard to disassociate that with the console. In fact, I remember being in line later that year to get Grand Theft Auto 5. That's right, back then in 2013, you had to line up to actually buy games and stuff, right? You couldn't just get them digitally. I'm in line to pick up my order of Grand Theft Auto 5 at GameStop. Now, the new consoles hadn't come out yet. Grand Theft Auto 5, I think, came out in like September, and the new consoles were coming out in either like October, November. And in line to line up to get GTA 5, there were all these kids talking about the new consoles. And these kids, I'm not even kidding you, I heard multiple conversations of people saying, I'm not getting the Xbox One. That thing's a piece of shit. That thing, you can't trade games, you can't do this. And by the way, by the time that this had happened, all of that had changed. Don Matrick had already been shit-canned and thrown out of being the head of Microsoft, or excuse me, the head of Xbox. The whole design of the console had changed. Now they went back on all those things they had said at E3 and changed the console to basically be in line with what consumers wanted. All that anti-gamer shit was gone. But no one in the line knew that, because first impressions are everything. Everyone had heard that the Xbox was shit and believed it, right? And then basically never did they hear the update where things had changed. Okay? So same thing here, like, all anyone's going to hear about Dying Light 2 now for the rest of this month will be that Dying Light 2 is a 500-hour game. Seriously. And now people will make actual purchasing decisions based on, do I have 500 hours to sink into playing Dying Light 2 in the month of February 2022? Some people will be like, okay, this is the only game I'm going to play the month, I'll buy it. And other people will be like, well, wait a minute. No, we've got Horizon, we've got Elden Ring, there's other stuff coming out that's interesting. I'm sorry, I just don't have that kind of time investment, so I'm not getting it. And they'll skip it. And they might miss out on a great game. They literally might miss out on a game that's been in development for many years and is now polished and fun. And you know what I mean? And whose fault would that honestly be? The marketing team for Dying Light 2. They made a humongous mistake making that social media post, in my opinion. I think that that was a huge misstep where now people will think one thing about the game that maybe isn't true. If they had even said, oh, if you just want to do one run in Dying Light 2 and see all the content, it's about 80 hours long. I think people would have liked that. They would have been, okay, if it's 80 hours long, probably half that's, side content. That means I'm going to get a good 40-hour story that's meaningful, and if I want to spend more time in the universe because I'm really enjoying the game, then I'll double my playtime. They would have liked that. But why would they lie? Especially in a month when they know they're going to have monstrous amounts of competition, lie about their game. Like, that is one of the dumbest things I feel like they could have done. And the other thing is, you could say, well, they didn't lie. Technically, it's true. I mean, yeah, technically, but enough with the technicalities. This is like, sadly, the gaming industry does this all the time. Oh, did you hear that this game sold this much? Oh, did it? Oh, well, by the way, that's actually not true, because it didn't sell that much. That game was on Game Pass, and therefore there was a ridiculous amount of Game Pass downloads of the game. For some odd reason, they count those as sales, even though they're definitely not. There's no actual transaction taking place when you're getting that game through Game Pass, as opposed to if you're actually paying money to access the game directly. That's not the equivalent thing. But they rank it the same, and then they actually tout sales numbers. Do you remember when Sea of Thieves first came out? Oh my God, Sea of Thieves is the best-selling Microsoft exclusive IP ever. No mention of the fact that the Game Pass program launched the day that Sea of Thieves launched, and everyone got it for free under Game Pass, and literally no one bought it outright at launch, right? Don't mention that. Just say it's the best-selling game of all time. But this is what I mean. In the scheme of things, right? In the scheme of the gaming landscape and the way that these gaming companies market their products, it's like they're now used to being liars or tellers of half-truth. We always say it a weird way. We say it sideways, this way, and then we can say, well, technically it's true, even though it's really not true. You see? And so I think we're so used to now having this happen that we kind of accept it. But I think we have to call bullshit. Like, this is a case in point. They absolutely should have never said, this game is 500 hours long. Ever. That's like saying Street Fighter is 40,000 hours long because I've played Street Fighter 2, so much since it came out in the 1990s. What are you talking about? No, I replayed the same content over and over and over because I liked the game so much I chose to continuously play it. That doesn't mean there's 40,000 hours of unique content at all. If you said that on social media, you'd be a fucking liar. So they lied. Just because the game can be played for 500 hours and see some alternate endings doesn't mean that there's 500 hours of actual gameplay like that in the game. They're lying. So, that being said, who knows what's going to happen now? personally, I'm like really intrigued now. Like actually, this has piqued my interest in the game because number one, if you guys remember the original Dying Light, it was good, but man, it was so unpolished and full of bugs. That was one of my most infamously buggy playthroughs. In the middle of my playthrough of Dying Light 1, all of a sudden I lost all of my experience points. I was at level 0 in the middle of the game. And then I rebooted the game, and the game had put all my experience points earned into only one of the 3 trees. So I basically became Spider-Man. I was weak as shit. I couldn't damage anything, but I could parkour through the city like crazy and use a zip line to fly around to places I wasn't even supposed to be at because I had all my experience points in one tree. Okay? What a glitch. Then later on in the game, again as a direct result of me being able to zip around, which you weren't supposed to be able to do till the very end of the game, I found all these bugged out parts of the game. I'm going through a pipe that you're not supposed to go through, and I could see a new part of the game you're not supposed to be in. I got to parts of the map early, so early they didn't render. So there's all weird fucking floating holes and shit in the game. I broke the fucking game to shit. And again, I liked Dying Light 1, but man, it should have been a much more finished, polished experience. So now, here we are many years later, and the sequel's coming out. Will it be any good? Will it be more polished than the original? I'm very intrigued to find out. In addition to that, can this game now hold its own and hold interest in a month when you're going to have an arguably incredibly unique game with Sifu, a game that's the sequel to one of the biggest, you know, console-exclusive blockbusters in the recent decade, you know, Horizon, a brand new fighting game franchise in King of Fighters 15, and well, it's not really brand new, but you know what I'm saying, like it hasn't been around in a while. It's a new launch of a fighting game franchise that, you know, feels like a refreshing or a rebooting of the series. And then, oh my god, the latest official From Software game that we've been waiting for many, many years in Elden Ring. So with all that going on, can Dying Light 2 hold its own and feel unique or interesting enough to make people want to keep playing it? And on the flip side of that, you got to remember something. I'm a content creator. It's not just about what's fun to play. It's also about what's fun to watch. When all this other stuff is going on in the gaming landscape of February, are you guys going to want to watch me play Dying Light 2 as a lengthy playthrough, mixed in with everything else? Or am I going to play it for 3 or 4 days, and then as soon as Horizon comes out, everyone's going to say drop it and just play Horizon? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, will those other games trump this one and take precedence? So when you are posting up, this game is 500 hours long, man, if ever there was a time to be very, very careful about what you say, it would be when your game is going to be in direct competition with multiple other giant releases in a very short period of time. And man, in my opinion, did they just flub it so effing bad. I don't know how they could have done worse. Besides maybe saying something really dumb, like something racist or something. You know? Like, that's about the only thing I could think of that would actually be dumber than doing this the way that they said it. Like, wow. That was really boneheaded of them. To the point where within a few hours they had to correct themselves. Oh no, don't worry. You can actually beat the game within under 100 hours. Then how is there 500 hours, you fucking assholes? Oh my goodness. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, that is the PreStream podcast. Let's now get to shoutouts. Here we go. So, our first contributor of the day is David Montenegro, who re-upped his membership for 4 months and says looking forward to this new year for new releases. Me as well. I really feel like this year, okay, is going to be shockingly interesting because we're going to have so many games that have been in development that are finally coming out after lengthy delays. We're also going to have games that probably we didn't even know were in development that are just going to get dropped and whoa, that's really coming out. I get the feeling this is going to be a shockingly good year. I have a really good feeling about it too. So I hope that this year does end up being better. Okay. Titanic Pineapple has re-upped their membership for 2 months and says, might have COVID, but I'm looking forward to your stream. I'm very sorry to hear that. Hopefully it's not bad for you. A lot of people have been reporting who are getting COVID now that it's actually not that bad at all, especially if they've been vaccinated, because this Omicron variant basically is kind of like a cold if you were vaccinated. So hopefully it's not bad, and I wish you the best. I hope you get well soon. I'm glad to hear that my stream will entertain you during your time when you're not feeling good. Jack the Cook did a $2 super chat. Says, what can we expect 2 years of Dying Light on DSPGaming? I mean, if it's really 500 hours long, maybe. But again, what you got to understand about this is that when I play games, I'm not just playing them for me. I'm playing them for us. I'm doing interactive content on a stream where it has to be entertaining to my audience. It doesn't sound to me like there's a way they're going to have 500 meaningful hours of content. You see what I'm saying? So, I guess we're going to see. Woden's Throne did a $5 super chat and says the following. The problem with most open world games from the past year or so is they're big as an ocean but as deep as a puddle. Right. It doesn't matter how much content you have if the content is all shitty. Right? If the content is all shallow and boring and meaningless and trite and trivial and grinding and repetitive and not interesting. I paid money to have engagement and be interested, not to be bored. I can be bored without spending money to be bored. Really. I don't need to spend money to do repetitive, boring, grindy shit. So, I hear you, Woden's Throne. I actually agree with you completely on your point. It's quantity over quality in this case, when it should be maybe the opposite. Some of the most notable playthroughs that I've ever done were shorter games where it was like, wow, the few hours that I played the game blew me the fuck away. Right? I hear ya. Marxist Carl does a super chat. He says, Dying Light 2 playtime compares to Lost Judgment. Well, Lost Judgment, of recent memory, one of my longest playthroughs came in just under, I want to say it was just under 80 hours of gameplay. Now keep in mind, that's because Lost Judgment had an incredibly lengthy side quest line called School Stories that didn't really tie into the main story of the game at all. As I said during the playthrough, it could have been its own expansion sold as a DLC. It could have been its own game. It's like 30 plus hours to beat this side quest line, okay? So that being said, pretty hilarious. And can you really compare? Can you compare the two directly? I would say no. Even though, yes, Lost Judgment was incredibly lengthy and incredibly drawn out and had a ridiculous amount of content in it. It still was meaningful. Like, the stuff that I did in Lost Judgment, I didn't feel like I was wasting my time. It just felt like it took too long to get through. But that's the point I'm making. And that was around 80 hours. Now, can you imagine a game that's like 5 times longer than that? I don't want to. I really don't want to. Okay. Now, let's switch over to tips. Our first tipper of the day is Michael, who tipped me $4.20, saying, do you think that this, I guess there's a Twitch streamer called Misbehavin' who showed off her private parts. Should she be banned forever for doing that? If she actively did it on purpose, like willingly and knowingly did it for attention, yes. If it was like an accident, like, oh, there was a wardrobe malfunction, it was completely inadvertent, then no. I think that it should be put, maybe a little bit of punishment to slap on the wrist in that case. Is this the difference between actively doing something wrong for attention to get ahead and to make a buck versus, oops, there was an honest mistake, something that went wrong that wasn't intended, right? So, that's my take on that. No, I don't think someone should be permanently punished for something that was completely accidental, There's a big difference there. Like, for example, we were just talking yesterday, the big segment was about DMCA on Twitch. I was saying, why do these big Twitch streamers think that they're immune to DMCA law and they could broadcast copywritten content on their channels with immunity to anything? Oh, I'm just going to play the entire series of a show and watch it and just do commentary over it. You don't own the rights to the show. You actively chose to steal that content without ever having paid for it or qualified to use it and put it on your channel. You chose to break the law outright for personal gain. Yes, you should be banned permanently and never come back. But someone who, accidentally my shirt ripped off, or, I don't know, my pants fell down or whatever. Oops, you saw my butt. I didn't mean to. That's different. So there you go. I don't know the circumstance around it, so I can't really speak fully to it. Plum Goral has tipped me $4.20. Has just got here, and I'm excited for more Skyrim. I'm playing with you on my Switch. I'm about to start the Dawnguard quest line, which I never got to finish in my first run 10 years ago, due to a glitch that would cause my entire PS3 to shut down if I set foot in water. That sounds awful. It also sounds exactly like a lot of things that were bad with that original version of the game. I played the PC version, and the PC version suffered from a few different issues. One was memory leaks, where the longer you played it, the more RAM it took out on your PC. So if you played it for like 4 or 5 hours, your whole PC would start to crash. That was pretty bad. Glitches with the fights with dragons. Sometimes the dragons would completely freeze the game up or make the frame rate dip insanely. And sometimes the dragons would not render properly. So I remember distinctly fighting multiple dragon fights in the game where they looked like big, globulous, purple putty monsters. I made jokes that it was like I'm fighting Barney the dinosaur. Pretty bad. I hope that doesn't happen in your second run. That would really suck, because already, as you guys saw yesterday, we're running into these weird bugs and glitches, and it's like, this game's been out for 10 years. Re-released like 17 times. They really didn't do much, did they? They just kept reporting it and never fixing anything with the bugs that we're seeing. Alright. Anso Kamaru to the $1.50 says, I dropped Tales of Arise. When I got 40 hours in, I realized it was only halfway. I love JRPGs and long, well-paced experiences, but man, game companies indeed need to be understanding pacing in games. Shin Megami Tensei 5 was 60 hours long, but every minute of the game felt worthwhile. Pacing is really important, and I hate to say it, a lot of game directors don't understand it. I think what a lot of game directors need to do is watch good films that have exceptionally good pacing and try to learn different things from those films, because, let's face it, games are becoming more cinematic. Game stories are becoming more epic in scale. We need to find a way to keep a story engaging while you're doing all the things that are mechanically required to go through a game. You know what I'm saying? So, I feel that pacing is critical to a game being good in the modern era, which is why when you make a tweet saying your game's 500 hours long, you could be shooting yourself in the foot. Okay. James to me $1.50 and says, it's even worse if you consider only 20 to 30% of people actually will finish the main storyline even in short games. So it'll probably be a lot less for long games like Dying Light. I mean, you're right. Most people these days buy a game based solely on hype or what they hear from other people or from the media. Oh, this game's great, right? And they pick it up and they play it, and most people quit. It's true. It's a statistic that everyone knows. All you got to do is look at like achievements lists, right? So this game sold how many million copies, but how is it that only 10% of people got the trophy that pops in the third chapter of the game? Because they don't play it. They literally buy, play a little, meh, never go back to it. So now factoring the game's 500 hours long, wow, good for you. But how many people will actually see that? 2, right? So again, you're right. Stizzy, thank you for the $1.50 tip. I'm just listen to this. They're bringing up stuff. They're saying, did this particular thing happen 15 years ago of a video that I saw randomly on YouTube of you from the past? How about this, Stizzy? All right, how about this? Stizzy, I would like you to think back in time 15 years. I don't know how old you are. Maybe you were still an embryo in your mother, right? Maybe you were an asshole, all right? I've said this many times before, and I'll say it again. When I was much younger, I was an asshole, all right? Absolutely, positively, 100%. When I was part of the competitive Street Fighter community, in particular in the first half of the 2000s, okay, I was a complete and utter asshole. I was a troll. I went online and I harassed people. I acted like a jerk, right? I did. And I wholeheartedly tell you today, I regret doing that. I realized what a waste of time it was, and how there probably were people who felt like they had so much stress and harassment online because of the way that I acted, and I apologize for it, and I've made myself actively a better person since then, right? First of all, no, I was not involved in any kind of a 15-year-old podcast about Street Fighter. Street Fighter, my competitive days of Street Fighter were arguably started around 1999 and went through around 2007, and then that was it. After that, when Street Fighter 4 launched, I played Street Fighter competitively, or at least tried to, for maybe that first year of vanilla Street Fighter 4, and I realized I didn't really like it that much. Being back in the competitive community, it was too much of a grind, but I was having so much fun being on YouTube and making YouTube videos every day having to take time away from that to go travel to a Street Fighter tournament and the grind of all of that and everything, I didn't really like it. So I kind of like fell out of love with being a competitive fighting game player at that time. But that was the last time that I was really involved with the FGC at all. And you could argue that was about, if you really think that was about 13, 14 years ago. No, that I was not on any podcast or anything at that time. If you're talking about what I think you're talking about something from, like, no exaggeration, like maybe 2004, 2005. Again, way back when absolutely I was this asshole troll who was being a dick in the Street Fighter community at that time. In fact, it was around that time when I realized, when I was actually starting to place and do well at tournaments, I was like, maybe I don't want to be a troll, right? Maybe I want to change the way that I act and behave, because now I'm actually starting to get a little bit of respect for my gameplay, because I'm actually winning tournaments and doing notable things. So I should stop being that person. And I did. I actually tried to actively, like, change who I was at that time. And it worked. Like, by the time that I kind of ended my tenure as a competitive Street Fighter player, at least on the East Coast, where I lived and was actively playing and actually ran tournaments. I ran East Coast Championships one year, along with Josh Wigfall, another prominent player from New York City, and I was from Connecticut. So it was kind of like this cross-state collaboration to make it happen. Among other tournaments, I was running many different tournaments in the New York City area. I was known and respected as a top Super Turbo player, as well as a tournament organizer. And that was because I changed my entire attitude and the way that I basically conducted myself on the internet and in the community. But I've already spoken to this many times. And yeah, back then I was a complete scumbag, an asshole. I would swear at people. I would threaten people. I would act like a dick. I would completely harass people online with trolling. It was bad. I was also a drunk. Like I told you guys, back then, a lot of the times I was so depressed with my life and didn't like who I was that I would just drink myself into a stupor. And sometimes I would drink myself into a stupor and go online and chat and troll and do fucked up things. And then people after the fact would be like, why'd you do that? Like, what are you even talking about? That's not a way to go through life, folks. Just so you know, that's not a way to go through life. And that's why that's like, 20 years in my past, and I regret it. And I'm happy that I'm a much better person now. Okay. Continuing on, LP101 to the $1.50 says, I'm looking forward to finally playing Hogwarts this year. Expecto Patronum. There you go. Hopefully it comes out and it's good. Stizzy did another $1.50 tip saying, oh, you're worse than an asshole. You were a degenerate. But I don't care, okay? If you don't care, why are you tipping me and asking me about something 20 years ago? Again, I'm curious, Stizzy, can you tell us about 15 years ago, how you were? Like, what were you doing 15 years ago? Let's hear it. And like I said, this actually wasn't even 15. This was like 20 plus years ago. Jason Voorhees has tipped me $5.31, which is actually the biggest tip of the day, and says, do you think Skyrim Anniversary Edition will be your longest playthrough ever? I have no idea. In reality, I just don't know how much content the game really has. Because keep in mind, the original version that I played of this game back in the day was just the base game. Didn't have the DLCs included. I played the DLCs later on, but I don't remember how much they add to the game. In addition to that, since then, there's been so many different patches, improvements, and now the Anniversary Edition is adding new content. So that all that being said, I really don't know. I couldn't tell you. Maybe it will be. If it is, okay. If it is the longest playthrough that I ever do, I wouldn't be opposed to that. But I just hope that it ends up being a meaningful playthrough that you guys remember, and that we can say, wow, that was the epic playthrough of 2022 that lasted all year long. Phil started it in January. Well, actually, Phil started it in the Christmas Marathon and finished it at the Christmas Marathon of 2022. How cool would that be? It took the whole year. But again, we'll see. I'm going to be playing it actively this month. It's going to go on hold for February, probably come back at some point, March or April. Be played for a while, then go on hold, then come back, then go on hold, then come back. You see? We'll see. We'll see how it goes. It could be, though. At the time when I played this game, for the first time originally, it was the longest playthrough I had ever done. But I didn't really play a lot of lengthy games back then, so. Okay. So actually, I think I miscalculated here. Let me add everything up here. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. No, I was right. It's 18. No, it's 18. See, I knew I was wrong. We're at $18 in tips. I screwed this up. All right, guys. So, thank you for a great PreStream podcast. Thank you for your support. Thanks for your questions, your interactions. Reminder, if you're enjoying the stream, please consider giving it a like. Liking the stream gives it a lot of visibility on YouTube. So anything that you do today helps, but liking the stream would actually allow more people to find it on YouTube today as we play through Skyrim. Okay? Thank you to everyone who's contributed with membership, super chat, super stickers, tips. All appreciated. It all helps. As you guys know, we have tip goals today. Raising $50 means I'll put on a pair of Gunner glasses. At $100, you guys get to pick a hat for me to wear today. And then at $150, a vest gets picked. And I think what I'll do today is I'll probably reset the vests. Because for a while now, I've been omitting a vest or two. Maybe we'll hit the reset button and get some of the other vests back into the rotation now. There you go. Sarah Barclay just hit me $2. Said, did you ever reach out and apologize to the people you bullied and trolled? Well, in reality, one of them, at one point, I personally apologized and tried to squash the beef with when I actually met them at a tournament. And they were so upset with how I had trolled them online that they didn't want anything to do with me. And I could kind of like compare that. As I've told you this story before. In high school, I was heavily bullied. In high school, I was the guy who was pranked, bullied, mistreated, got his backpack yanked off his arm, ripped into shreds, got wedgies and shit, everything. The whole gamut, right? Years later, like 4 or 5 years later, I'm in college, all right? But I still using the same handle on AOL Instant Messenger. Yeah, when people used to use AOL Instant Messenger to communicate, okay? And one of the bullies who bullied me in high school contacted me and was like, I just want to let you know, I know we haven't talked in years and years. I'm so sorry for what I did to you in high school. I feel bad. I think about it today and I'm embarrassed and everything. And essentially my response was, you know, I appreciate that, but I don't really care anymore. I've moved on. I'm a totally different life now. I don't give a shit. So you don't have to worry yourself about it, nor did you even have to apologize. It would, like, this doesn't make any difference to me because I'm never going to have any interaction with you moving forward. Just move on. You know, that's basically what I told him. I said, just move on. Don't worry about it. Right? So that's kind of like, I feel like when you are such a dick to someone, right, so badly, that I think it's better to just never have association with that person ever again than to have that person back in your life so that they apologize. Like, right? Wouldn't you just rather, if someone was a complete piece of shit to you, like completely mistreated you and acted like a dick and ass, whatever it is, just completely screwed you over and made you feel like garbage, do you ever want to see that person again? Really? Would it matter if they came up to you and say, I'm so sorry for how I behaved? Or would you rather say, I don't ever want to see them ever again, right? And that was the one experience, the one time I tried to squash the beef with someone in the Street Fighter community who I had basically trolled for like a year straight. The guy was like, stay the fuck away from me. I want nothing to do with you. I tried to shake his hand. He refused. I was like, now I look back and I'm like, oh, I get it. Because I was such a dick. This guy legitimately hated my fucking guts. And now I can understand that. Back then I didn't. I was like, wow, well, this guy's a cocky prick. He doesn't want to accept my apology, right? But now I think about it, I'm like, yeah, because he probably never wanted to deal with me ever again. If he could have avoided me for the rest of his life, that would have been a better life for him, right? Oh my goodness. But it's funny how you can only understand stuff like that when you get older and wiser. Seriously. Chris B tipped $2 and says, would love to see you play the old Harry Potter games emulated on Wii before Hogwarts Legacy. Harry Potter is the best. I don't know how I could do that. You say emulated on Wii. I don't know how you would emulate anything on the Wii. Unless you're saying if you're on the Wii and you go to the Nintendo store, you can download them. But didn't they close that Nintendo store on the Wii? I don't think you can buy digital games on the Wii anymore. If you're saying that they're GameCube games, yeah, if you're saying that they're GameCube games, I could play GameCube games on my Wii. You could just put them in. Like, I played Super Mario Sunshine many years ago on the Wii. It works. If that's what you're saying, though. So, okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to end the pre-stream podcast. It's time to move into the Skyrim fun. All right? Thank you for a great pre-stream, and I think it's time to get started. Let's do it. Very nice.